The success of the Ohrid school brought with it the weight of an expanding empire. Clement, his beard now silvered by decades of devotion, sat with Goraz to map the next phase of their intellectual conquest. They were no longer merely teaching letters, they were structuring a civilization. Gorazd pointed to the northern provinces on a heavy vellum map, noting that the demand for teachers had outpaced even their most ambitious projections. The challenge was no longer existence, but endurance. However, the light of Ohrid cast long shadows in distant courts. Basileos, a stern emissary from the southern ecclesiastical centers, arrived to challenge the theological purity of a liturgy written in a barbarian tongue. Nahum met him in the great hall, holding a heavy codex as his only shield. They debated into the night, Nahum arguing that the divine word was not a prisoner of Greek or Latin, but a living spirit that demanded to be understood by all who sought it. Inside the bustling scriptorium, the Ohrid standard was being tested by the sheer diversity of the Slavic tribes. Lumina oversaw the transcription of complex philosophical treatises, assisted by Stoyan, a young monk whose hand was remarkably swift. They encountered words for which no Slavic equivalent yet existed, forcing them to forge new terms from the furnace of their own grammar. Stoyan watched Lumina's quill with reverence, realizing that they were not just copying books, but inventing a language for the future. The physical cost of this enlightenment was borne by those who prepared the materials. Sava spent his days in the damp lower chambers with Dragon, a master tanner whose hands were stained and calloused. They worked to refine the process of curing hides, for the script required a surface that could survive centuries of frost and fire. Dragon stretched a massive hide over a frame, showing Sava how a single flaw in the skin could cause the ink of a holy gospel to flake away in 100 years. Political bridges were built with ink as much as steel. Preslav, acting as Clement's diplomat, traveled to the northern reaches to meet with Rostislav, a powerful chieftain seeking to unify his people under a single law. Preslav did not bring gold, but a collection of translated legal scrolls. Rostislav ran his fingers over the raised ink of the Cyrillic letters, sensing that this script offered a form of sovereignty that no army could dismantle. In the quiet villages of the Kutmichevitsa, the transition from oral memory to the written word was a quiet revolution. Zoran, the guide who had once looked at books with suspicion, now sat by his hearth with his son, Boyan. He watched as Boyan traced the letters of a simple primer, the boy's voice stumbling over the sounds that Zoran had known only as air. The lineage of silence was breaking. The boy would be the first in 10 generations to own his own thoughts. As the years waned, Clement and Nahum retreated to the heights overlooking the lake to focus on the lyrical heart of their work. They composed hymns and hagiographies that transformed the rigid script into a vehicle for poetry. Clement dictated verses that captured the shimmering light of Ohrid, while Nahum recorded them with a precision that turned the alphabet into music. They knew that laws would change and empires would fall, but the beauty of the word would remain. In 916, the bell of the monastery tolled with a heavy rhythmic sorrow. Clement had passed into the earth he had transformed. Naum and Gorazd stood together in the empty study, the silence of the room amplified by the thousands of books that surrounded them. The architect was gone, but the blueprints were etched into the minds of 3,000 disciples. Nahum picked up Clement's favored quill, realizing that the burden of the light was now theirs to carry. The school did not falter. It evolved. Decades later, Lumina, now an elder of the scriptorium, mentored a young, brilliant novice named Simeon. She showed him the original Ohrid standard, its ink now faded, but its logic still unassailable. She explained that their work was a bridge across time, connecting the wisdom of the past to the potential of an unborn world. Simeon listened, his hand already trembling with the urge to add his own chapter to the story. Centuries passed, and the stone walls of the school weathered under the sun, but the alphabet Clement and his brothers forged spread like a wildfire across the east. Simeon, now a man of great learning, stood upon the cliffs of Ohrid, looking out over the water. In his hands, he held a testament to their victory, a book that would travel to lands Clement had never seen. The Apostles of Light had succeeded. They had given a voice to a civilization, creating a legacy that was not written in stone, but in the very soul of the people.